What is up, YouTube? LevineMa here, and today we're doing a kind of special video, is the best word for it. Basically, this video is special because, first of all, it's a video that I'm making because it's basically my 50 subscribers video, and it's also a video that I have been wanting to make, which is an introduction to competitive battling. So we are going to jump right into it. If you're watching this, I am gonna assume that you have played some of the games before and that you have a general idea about everything. But we're gonna teach you the more detail-based stuff that's important for competitive battling. So this is my little checklist of the stuff that I'm planning on covering. So yeah, we'll jump right into it. So first thing is type matchups. Now, this can be a little bit complicated because there's things that are multiple types, like, for example, Drapion is an example. And the reason why I'm using Drapion as an example is because Drapion is a Pokemon that it's kind of complicated as to what its weakness is, because, like, it's pretty easy to know what's super effective and what's not on certain types, but Drapion, because it's on certain individual types, but since Drapion is two types, that makes it a little bit more complicated, because of the fact that Drapion's two types kind of cancel each other out in some ways, because some of the stuff that's super effective on one are not very effective on the other. Let's see, I'm going to pull up a chat just so I can type in some commands. So, Drapion. So, Drapion is complicated because with Drapion, since Drapion's types are Poison and Dark. Now, what's super effective on Poison, that would be Ground, Psychic, let's see, Ground and Psychic, I think, / Weakness Poison. So now, you'll see here, so yeah, I think Ground and Psychic are the two that are super effective on Poison, and Dark would be Fairy, Fighting, and Bug. If I missed something, I'm sorry guys, but that's not very important, because the important thing is realizing how complicated this can get, because the way that the typings work, it's kind of a game of, like, different typings cancel each other out, is what the best way to explain it is. Now, like I said, Poison, for example. Now, Psychic is super effective on Poison, so if Drapion was a normal Poison type, then that would be completely fine. That would be super effective on it. You would want to use that attack. But it gets more complicated when you have stuff like this, which is dual types, because Psychic is super effective on Poison, but Psychic does not affect Dark at all. Now, the way that it works is you can kind of think of the weaknesses, I think, based on my examples that I have used and that I've noticed, is if you multiply the super effective extra damage by each other. So for example, if something's super effective, it's going to do 2 times damage. If something's neutral, it's going to do 1 times damage. If something's not very effective, it's going to do a half times damage. And if something does not affect it at all, it's going to do 0 times. Now, if you multiply them together, so let's say that there's something that, for example, in this case, Psychic. Psychic is super effective on Poison, so that would be 2 times, and let's see, it's super effective on Poison, but it doesn't affect Dark at all, so it's going to do 0 to Dark. So that's going to be 2 times 0, which means 0. So you are not going to do any damage to it if you use a Psychic type move, which is why you would not want to use it. Whereas for Poison's other weakness, which is Ground, Ground is super effective on Poison, so it's going to do 2 times, and it's neutral on Dark, so it's going to do 1 times. So if you multiply those two together, it's going to do 2 times damage. So that's a move you would want to use. Now, going the other way, with Dark, Fighting is super effective on Dark, so that would be 2 times, but Fighting is not very effective on Poison, so that's going to be 1/2 times. Now, 2 times 1/2 is equal to, easy math right there, 1. So that means that Fighting is going to be neutral. It's only going to do 1 times damage to it, which would just be like using any other type. Whereas another thing that's super effective on Dark is Fairy. And Fairy is super effective on Dark, but it's not very effective on Poison once again. So that's going to do 2 times damage to the Dark side, and 1/2 times damage to the Poison side. So that's going to do 1 times damage. Now, as you guys have noticed, this can get really complicated, and you don't want to sit here for 2-3 minutes thinking, okay, it's going to be super effective on this, not very effective on this. and then having to maybe look it up if you don't remember it, there's something really cool on this website that we're using, which is called Pokemon Showdown. I will link it in the description. And what's cool about Pokemon Showdown is that it has these commands that you can type in battles. Now, there's a bunch of commands that you can type in, but one of the really cool ones that are really useful is the /weakness command. So I'm not sure if it's going to work in the chat, but let's say it goes /weakness Drapion. Perfect, it works. So now you see right there, you type /weakness Drapion. Only you can see that this thing that just came up, and that says ignoring abilities. Don't worry about that. That doesn't matter at this point. So now you see, okay, its weaknesses, ground. That's good. That's what I said before. Its resistances are dark, ghost, grass, and poison, because those are things that these types resist. Like dark resists dark, dark resists ghost, poison resists grass, poison resists poison. So you see the weaknesses, you see the resistances, and then you also see the immunities, which is what I was saying about the Psychic type, where it's going to do 0 damage. Now, any type that is not on this list is neutral, which means that's going to do 1 times damage. It's going to do the normal times. Now, that makes it really simple, and there's only one other thing that you kind of would want to know. So I'll use, since they're talking about it, we'll use Koopa U for example. Weakness, Koopa U. Now, this is Koopa Unbound. It isn't Uber's, so I'll explain tiers later, but that's just means that's really good. But you see how Bug is bolded? That means that it's 4 times effective, because here, I'll pull up Koopa U. Koopa Unbound, it's not going to work here because there's an OU right now. We're going to set it to Uber's. Koopa U. Koopa Unbound. Now, you see, Koopa Unbound, amazing stats, but its typing is not that great because, as you can see, Bug is bolded, like I said. With that, and like I said before, that means that Bug is 4 times effective because Bug is super effective on Psychic, that's 2 times, and super effective on Dark, so that's 4 times. So that's going to do 4 times more damage than normal. Now, using the /weakness command, typings and weaknesses and resistances should not be too complicated. And that's why I love Showdown, because this weakness command can help a lot. And even when you get more experience, you won't have to use it as much. But as you get more experience, then you're gonna have some stuff that you want to check. Like maybe you'll be thinking, okay, I think that this is neutral, but it's really important that I make sure that it is and not resisted, because if not, it's not going to kill it, for example, like that. And for that, I still look it up. So yeah, it's a really useful tool to have, and that's really what you need to know about weaknesses and resistances and that type of stuff, and that's all typings. And for people that, just a side note, for people that played like a while ago, like back to like the Game Boy games and haven't played since then, there's a new typing called Fairy type, and Fairy type is super effective on Dragon, and you know, I'll just show you guys. /weakness Fairy, that should work, right? Yeah. So you see, Fairy is super effective. This is showing the other one. So sorry, Fairy is taking 2 times damage from poison and steel, and it's dealing 2 times damage to Dark. If that wants to come up, /weakness Dark. Yep, there it is. Fairy right there. You see, to Dark and to Dragon. And there's one more, guys. It's also fighting. So let's see. Let's show you guys that. You see Dragon, Fairy there too, and weakness fighting. And as you guys could see, there's Fairy again. And as you guys could see, it's immune to Dragon. So Fairy type was really made because there wasn't really anything that countered Dragon except for Steel types, and Dragons are really strong. So that's really the main reason why they made that. But just keep that in the back of your mind that there is Fairy type now. Some Pokemon change types, so don't be scared to use. Here's another command that's useful, /DT. Now /DT, and then if you type in a Pokemon, that's actually real, Fable. So /DT shows you its typing, its name, its possible abilities, and it's all of its stats. And it also what /DT can do is /DT doesn't only show the Pokemon, but it can also show abilities and items. Let's say I wanted /DT leftover. That's a really popular item because it heals health. So /DT leftovers, it's going to tell me exactly what leftovers does and all the details about it. You see all that? And then for abilities, you're going to see again, I'm unaware because that's one of Fable's abilities. This Pokemon ignores other Pokemon's stat changes, stat stages when taking or doing damage. So basically that's really what Unaware does, and that's the /DT command is really useful to get information on pretty much anything Pokemon. So that's 2 commands you have so far, guys, none too complicated, /DT and /weakness. Now, let's see. Now, just a really quick thing. On Showdown and really in general, there's these things called tiers. And so you see all these tiers you got here. These are all the tiers. It's a whole bunch of them you guys see. There's even more if you were to go here. Say I'm just going to click on a random person and challenge them. You see if I challenge him, there's even more tiers than there were there, because these are the only ones that really have a ladder right now. But these things are, these tiers are the ones that you're really going to be mainly using. The most popular one is OU, but basically what all the tiers mean is just where different Pokemon are placed based on how good they are and how much they're used. They say that they're usage based, but they are mainly usage based, but there's a few exceptions where something is just too good. And basically Uber's is technically the highest tier, as in the highest tier is what I would call it, because there is another tier above it called Anything Goes. Only thing that's in Anything Goes is Mega Rayquaza, because Mega Rayquaza is really good, like better than anything in Uber's. But so yeah, Uber's is the highest. That's going to be all your really good legendaries, all your main game legendaries for the most part, like your Groudons, your Kyogres, those type of things, your Dialgas, Palkias. OU is going to be all of the really good non-legendary Pokemon, and then some of the legendaries that are good but not too good. So like for example, Landorus, Therian. So Landorus is a good example because Landorus is technically in 2 tiers. Now Landorus is a new Pokemon, not important, but it has 2 forms. Kind of like how Eevee can change into many different forms. This has 2 forms. Landorus Therian, you see, is in OU, and Landorus the normal, which is Landorus Incarnate, is in Ubers. So if I were to play OU, I would be able to use this, but not this. And this Pokemon is very good, but it's not too good to be in Ubers. And basically for tiers, if you want to see stuff that's in a tier, you can just type in the tier in the search bar for the Pokemon. So I can type in any tier. I can also type in like based on different abilities, stuff like that. This thing is really useful. I don't know if this is going to be the same on yours, because I only noticed this once I changed my format of my Showdown. But you might have this where you can also organize this. I wanted to see every OU Pokemon by their name, all in alphabetical order. Now it gives me all of the OU Pokemon in alphabetical order. So let's see. So that's basically tiers for you, just different areas where different Pokemon are, showing how good they are, how much they're used, that type of thing. Items are pretty useful in Pokemon. Very useful actually. So let's go back to my Hoopa that I had here because I already searched it up. Now, another really good thing about Showdown is that it shows what the popular items are, which these are the ones that you're going to be wanting to use until you get more advanced. So these are the ones you want to use. Assault Vest, and they basically explain exactly what it does. I'll show you what you. So like Assault Vest holder special effects is 1.5 times, but it can only select damaging moves, which means no using like Toxic or Double Team or any moves that aren't going to do damage. But your special defense is 1.5 times what it normally is. Let's see, let's go through a few more. Leftovers, like I said, very useful item. A lot of people use this because it restores HP every turn, 1/16 of your max HP every turn. And let's look at Power, because that's the one I'm on right now. And what basically says, holders 2 turn moves complete in 1 turn, single use. Basically what that means is that after it's used once, it's done, you can't use it again the whole match. And that's useful for Pokemon like, or not really just Pokemon, not any specific Pokemon. I mean, Xerneas is good with, but you probably don't know what that is if you're watching this. So that basically all it does is make 2 turn moves like Solar Beam, Fly, stuff like that, where it's like Dig, where there's like 1 turn and then you attack, and it's kind of you're locked into that attack. Then it makes that go in 1 turn and one turn instead of 2, and then it goes away. So, like I said, useful because it shows you all the popular items. Then it just shows a bunch of items. These you're not going to really use at all unless you're in like leagues. And then it has Pokemon specific items. Only Pokemon specific items you're going to want to use until you get more advanced are probably the Mega Stones. Once again, if you guys have not played this since like the Game Boy games, you've probably heard of it, but you probably don't really know what a Mega Evolution is. Basically all that is, I'm going to try to complicated. Let's bring up Venusaur. So basically all that is, here, I'll show you Venusaur and I'll show you Mega Venusaur. So all Mega Evolution is, so there's some final stage Pokemon, some fully evolved Pokemon that can evolve one more time in battle. And these Pokemon have what they call Mega Evolutions. Now, a Pokemon can only Mega Evolve if it has its item, which its item for its Mega Evolution is going to be its name and then ite. So like Venusaurite, Charizardite, Lucarioite, stuff like that. So those are pretty easy to find, and when it Mega Evolves, its stats go up a lot. Like, as you can see, you probably can't really see too well, but normal Venusaur has, let's see, what stats go up? Okay, pretty much all of them. So normal Venusaur has 83 defense, 100 special attack, 100 special defense, where Mega Venusaur has 123 defense, 122 special attack, and 120 special defense. So as you can see, stats go up, stats go down, but I'd say 100% of the time, the Mega Evolution is going to be better than its normal Pokemon. So that's just something good to know. This Mega Evolution, you can experiment with those. There's a lot of Mega Pokemon. If you want, you can just search Mega. Meganium's not one, but you guys can probably tell because it doesn't have Mega next to its name. But there's different Megas, different tiers, different abilities, different stats. Yeah, and you can just play around with these, make teams with them, and just have fun with them. And usually you want to make a team based around a Mega, would be my advice if you're, because Megas tend to be your strongest Pokemon in one way or another. So they're really good to have on a team. So now that we're talking about the Pokemon more, I'm going to go into stats and how stats work. So we'll go back to our Hoopa, because Hoopa's there anyways. So, Hoopa. Now, every Pokemon has what they call base stats. That's what these are, this 80, 160, 60, 170, 130, 80. Now, those base stats, the higher they are, the better they are. Basically any stat that is, I'll say for defensive stats, 90 or higher is good. For attacking stats, so you know, like defense, special defense, so when I say defensive stats, so defense and special defense, and attacking stats are attack and special attack. So yeah, for attacking stats, I'd say 100 or higher is good, although 90 and higher is kind of the place to go around. And for HP, I'd say 80 or higher is pretty good. And speeds, also 100 or higher is good. So these base stats are kind of just the baseline of how good your Pokemon will be. Because when it comes to stats are a little bit complicated in a few ways. First of all, there's a huge range of stats, and it takes a really long time of playing to really know when to do what. And well, although it's not that complicated where you can't figure it out but it's definitely complicated if you've never done it before. Now, where it gets a little bit more complicated is that stats have stuff called EVs and IVs. So to get those EVs and IVs, so you have 500 and I can't even see that, 508 EVs to spread over the course of your 6 stats. Now, these EVs you usually want to put into 2 stats max, and then put the last one in, doesn't really matter where, it's not going to do much. And so basically for EVs, so for Hoopa, I personally like using Hoopa attack, and we'll go into attack and stuff like that, and attack and special attack split in a minute. But yeah, Hoopa I like putting max attack, max speed, and then giving it this item called a Choice Scarf, which makes the speed even higher. And then that's what I like doing for Hoopa spread, but that changes depending on the Pokemon. But for the most part, you're gonna want to put max 252 in 2 of the stats, and then the third stat doesn't really matter. And that's really EVs. That's not too complicated to understand. You'll be able to figure it out when I go into the moves, what you want to do. But then IVs, also kind of simple. Only way that so for IVs, Showdown actually makes the IVs automatically. Because the only way that IVs can change, so to speak, is if you have a hidden power. And so hidden powers can be any type except for fairy. And hidden powers, depending on what hidden power you are, your IVs are going to have to be different. But Showdown does that for you, so you don't need to worry about that. All you have to know about it is 31 is the highest that you can have for IVs in a stat. And it will do it for you, but if you don't have any physical attacks, which again we'll explain physical and special in a minute, you're going to want to make your physical attack 0. And also for if you're using a move like that takes speed into account, you're usually going to want to use gyro. You're not use gyro. That's the move. You're usually going to want to use 0 speed. But again, Showdown does all that for you, so you don't need to worry. Now, the last thing about stats is the nature. Now, with natures, so if I give it a set, so natures, I'll go into this and I'll show you guys another cool thing about Showdown. So natures, there's natures that basically every nature raises on a stat and lowers another one, or it's just neutral and it doesn't do anything. You're gonna almost always, I cannot think of one time where I did not want my nature to be +1 stat minus the other, and I want it to be neutral. So, and that stat that you're putting up and that you're putting down is really dependent on what your build is of the Pokemon. But that really, like I was about to say, the cool thing about Showdown, so it has stuff for every type, for every stat. It's gonna raise one stat, lower another one. So if I were to put in a moveset, so I'm just gonna give him a moveset that I like using. It doesn't matter what the moves do, it explains what all of them do, guys. That you can look at and kind of figure it out. But you see, if you put in 4 moves, it's gonna give you the best set for your build. So now notice right here. So right here it says this doesn't really matter. It's bulky physical sweep. You don't need to understand what that means. You'll understand in the long run, but right now you don't need to understand what that means. And all you do is just click that, and it gives you your stats. Now you see the stats right now. Now remember how I said that I like running the item that raises my speed? Now that's called Choice Scarf, and it raises my speed by 1.5 times. But I can only use the first move that I choose until I switch out. And now you see how I chose the Choice Scarf as the item? Now it's going to change the set so that it gives me speed now, because I need the speed so I can outspeed Pokemon, because in battles, speed is really important, because the faster Pokemon attacks first, and a lot of the time the Pokemon that attacks first ends up getting the kill. So that is kind of just showing with your stats and all that stuff. Now, going more into that, we'll go into the physical special attack thing that I was talking about before. You know what, we'll use Venusaur for that. We'll use Mega Venusaur for that, actually. So, every move that does damage is either going to be a physical move or a special move. Physical moves have this little kaboom symbol thingy here. Special moves have this little circle thing here. Now, you might be thinking, how am I supposed to know if I want to use a special move or a physical move? Or maybe you aren't thinking that because you don't really know that much about it, but you'll see soon. So, physical and special, those go back to your stats. Usually, I'd say 99% of the time, and at this point 100% of the time, you're gonna want to, if you're gonna use attacking moves, you're gonna want to put them in the stat that has the higher base stat. So, you see how his special attack is 122 and his physical attack is 100? That means that you're gonna want to make his attacks special, probably. So if I'm gonna be making attacks, I'm gonna want to be looking for attacks for Venusaur with this little kaboom thing, well, not kaboom, with the little circle thing. And basically, making movesets and stuff, there's something called, basically if you look up the Pokemon, and you look up Smogon, here, I'll show you for Venusaur. Actually, I'll show you for Hoopa. Hoopa, Smogon. Now, on Smogon, until you get used to these Pokemon, you're going to want to look at this. If you look up Hoopa, Smogon, or any Pokemon, and then Smogon after, usually, I think every time the first link is going to bring you to a site like this, where this site shows the all the stats of the Pokemon, and then if you go down, it shows all the sets that you're going to use. So, like, you see this right here, this is going to show me a few sets that I want to use. You can look up what the items do. If you click them, it also shows you what the items do, I think. Yeah, it shows you what the items do if you click them. But yeah, it shows you the sets, and it shows you a few viable ones if there are multiple. If not, then it will just show you one. So, like, for example, this one has this Nasty Plot set. Nasty Plot raises special attack by 2 stages, which makes it ×2. That's complicated. You'll learn that by playing. And that's the only viable set that they have here. I have never actually used it in Ubers, so I don't know if that's the only viable set or if there's more. But for now, I would say until you get more advanced, use these Smogon sets, because they really show you everything that you need and all the sets that you need. And even it makes it super simple. You can click export, this comes up, copy that, and then you go here where it says import export, paste it, and press save, and it will put it all in there for you. Now, Venusaur, on the other hand, like I was saying, Venusaur special attack, when we were talking about the physical and special split, that I think we already covered. You guys understand that, I hope. If not, you can go back, look at it a few times, play some battles. That's the best way to really understand. But Venusaur tends not to be a Pokemon that you're going to want to attack that much with. Because with Venusaur, his defense and his special defense are really high. So he is a very good Pokemon to use if you want something to take hits. Now, Pokemon that take hits are called walls or tanks. Mainly walls is what they call them. But yeah, basically all you need to know about that, with any wall, you're going to want to put some status moves and stuff. And once again, you can look through all the moves, understand them, look up different sets, learn how to play a little bit, then make your own teams, take advantage of this website, use it. It's really helpful. And Venusaur, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use moves. Here, I'll even show you on Smogon. Smogon even makes it a bulkier set. Venusaur, Mega Venusaur, Smogon. Mega Venusaur, Smogon. Here, so it's going to give you Mega right there. So, let's see, overview, offensive. Yeah, here you go. This is a Venusaur, right? This is a Mega Venusaur because it has Venusaur, right? This one is the offensive set that they use, which, like I said, it can be used offensive, or this is the defensive set. And basically, it tells you exactly what it is. So you know if you want an offensive set or a defensive set, you can really tell. And you can see, because it tells you everything, and it explains to you what the set does. And if you want, you can read all this stuff. At the point that I'm at, I don't really need to anymore because I've been playing for a while. But for new people, it's always helpful. So that's just examples. And also, like attacks, attack and special attack, defense and special defense are also split between physical and special. Now, physical defense lowers the damage taken by the physical attacks, where special defense lowers the damage taken by the special attacks, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. And the last thing that you're going to want to know for this stuff is what the HP stat does. All HP does is raise your HP. And like I said, if you move this slider and you add EVs, it's going to raise it. But yeah, all HP does is raise your max HP. So, because the way that Pokemon works calculating damage is it takes the attack used, the stats of the person's attack used. So let's say I was going, and I was attacking this Venusaur with an Earthquake. You know what, I'll show you on the, Let's say I'm attacking this Venusaur with an Earthquake. It's gonna, let's say I'm using Garchomp, for example, and I'm attacking Venusaur with Earthquake. Let's say I have max defense, max HP, so it's not going to do too much damage. And Garchomp's max attack, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But what it's going to do to calculate the damage is it's going to get you a set number based on the attack of the Garchomp, which would be different if it was a special type. It would be the special type instead of the attack, but that's self-explanatory, like I said. On the attack of the Garchomp to the Venusaur's defense and to Venusaur's defense. Now, what's going to happen is that attack of the Garchomp to the defense of the Venusaur is going to get a number, and that number is how much damage it does. So let's say if that number gets to like 200, which it's not going to do that much, but if it were to be 200, for example, that would mean that my HP, this number right here, my HP stat that I raised with this, would go down by 200. Whereas, so as you guys can see, if it goes down by 200, I have 164 left. Whereas if I go no EVs, 301 is my health, max health, so minus 200 will be 101, which is less health left than what I had originally. So that's basically how damage is calculated and why HP matters. Usually if you're making something that's going to be more bulky, like Venusaur, you're going to want to go max HP, because max HP lets you take more hits because you can take more damage. And yeah, so that's kind of with all this stuff, the attack, special attack, defense, special defense, HP. Yeah, so that's with that. Abilities, you can just read what those do. Those are self-explanatory based on what the, based on, what's it called, what the, based on, oh yeah, because it explains it. So like, yeah, that's the ability is self-explanatory. If you look here, every ability is explained what it does, and like you see, fire / ice type moves against this Pokemon deal damage with a halved attacking set. That shows you, that literally explains to you word for word what it actually does. Chlorophyll, you see if something is active, Pokemon speed is doubled. Again, speed is important if you're going to attack, because usually the Pokemon that hits first gets the kill. Yeah, so, like I said, best way to really understand this stuff is by battling. Battling, building, and just practicing. So, in order to show you guys that, I am going to actually build a team right now. Now, like I said, you are going to want to start a team with a Mega usually. So our Mega, let's see, you know, what Mega do I want to use? It's a good Mega. You know what, since we've been using it, let's use Mega Venusaur. So Mega Venusaur. Now, like I said, with Mega Venusaur, you are going to want to have moves that are usually going to, you're going to want to usually make it bulky. So we're going to want to give it moves. These moves you'll understand if you read them, and you'll look at the Smogon sets, you'll learn what different moves do, all that type of stuff. Let's see, Synthesis, Protect, Giga Drain. That's really the set for him usually. And then max, and you see it just gives me exactly what it should be: max defense, max HP. And there we go. Now, my next Pokemon. So, one thing about teams, there's many different ways to build a team, but I would say the most basic one is basically to have a defensive core, and then have Pokemon around that can deal damage and be more offensive. So, in order to have a defensive core, you're going to usually want to have one Pokemon with max defense and one Pokemon with max special defense. Now, another kind of thing to know about this is that usually with your defensive core, you're going to want two types that complement each other very well. So, I'll show you. So, slash weakness Venusaur. That's going to give me the weaknesses of Venusaur, which are Fire, Flying, Ice, Psychic. Now, again, you're going to really learn this by playing more often, and you aren't going to really know until you've played many times. But looking at that, I can come up with a Pokemon that works really well with that, because it's going to be resisting most of those types, and it's going to have high special defense. So let's see. What types resist? And again, I only know this because I've played this game for a very long time. So, yeah, Heatran. So, Heatran is perfect. So, look, you see weaknesses of Venusaur slash weakness, Heatran. Heatran's weaknesses are fighting, ground, water. So, you see none of those, which is great. That's always what you want. And then Heatran's resistances have all these four weaknesses are in its resistances. Look, you see fire. Fire doesn't even affect him because of his ability, because it has this ability called Flash Fire, which makes opponent's fire attacks do 1.5, which makes my opponent's fire attacks not matter. They don't do damage, and then my fire attacks do 1.5 times the damage. Let's see, what else? Where's Flying? Flying's right there. See, resists it. Ice resists. Psychic resists. So that really shows you that's really what you want in a good one. Now, I'm going to make this one also kind of specially defensive. Let's see, what set do we want to give this thing? Lewis, Taunt. Let's go with Lava Bloom. And we're going to go leftovers for the item. And he's going to be max special defense. So you see, it just gave me the set right away. Now that we have our defensive core, we're going to want to look at our offensive Pokemon. Now, usually on every team, you are going to want an offensive Pokemon that can do this thing called setup. Now, what setup means is there's certain moves that raise your stats, which allow you to do more damage, like Swords Dance raises attack, Dragon Dance raises attack and speed, stuff like that. So, what we're going to do is we're going to look for something that can set up. My personal favorite setup is Dragon Dance or Tail Glow. Those are my two favorite moves, and I really like Tail Glow because Tail Glow is really good. Because it raises the use special attack by 3, which would make it at 2.5 times. Again, you'll learn that by just playing a lot. And also, I love Manaphy. So, Manaphy is great, and I love it so much. It's a great Pokemon to use. Then we're going to want to do max special attack and max HP, because you want to set up, actually no, we're going to go max special attack, max speed. And we're going to make speed max. See, once again, if this was you making the team, you should just go what they say, max special attack, max HP. but I personally like attacking with a faster Manaphy that's max speed, so that's why I'm running its max speed instead of its max HP. Now, again, you're going to want, so that's our setup attacker right there. So now we have our setup attacker and our wall, our core. Now, the next thing that we're going to want is something that can clear, so there's these things called entry hazards, which are very important in Pokemon, although not every team runs them, which basically what they do is when a Pokemon enters the field, they do damage. These entry hazards are Stealth Rocks, Spikes, Toxic Spikes. Those are the ones that do damage. And then there's this thing called Sticky Web, which lowers their speed, which is also very useful. So basically what we're going to want is we're going to want something to remove those hazards from our side, because one thing about Pokemon is being able to predict what your opponent's going to do and make the right switches to make the right moves. Where if you have hazards out, that becomes a lot harder because you're going to be taking damage while you're switching out. So right now what we're looking for is we're going to want to find something that can remove these hazards from our side. Now there's two moves that remove hazards, Rapid Spin and Defog. We are probably going to want something with Rapid Spin in our case, because we have hazards on our team. On the Heatran, as you saw, we had Stealth Rocks. So let's see, give me a second to find something that's going to work well with our team with Rapid Spin. Let's see. I was thinking Starmie, but I don't know if Starmie's going to work too well with our team. I'll just look it up. That'll make it easier. Make it faster. Anything good that we can use? I may end up just going with Starmie, because Starmie is a... Oh, Donphan can remove it. Donphan's really bulky, so we don't really want to move with Donphan. Don't worry about what I just said, guys. It's not important. Yeah, we're going to go with Starmie, because we're going to want these Pokemon that can attack. And we also want them to be able to deal damage. So we're going to go with Starmie. Hopefully Starmie can do some good stuff for us. Okay, max speed. Okay, now you see one thing that I'm starting to notice about this team is we are starting to get a lot of electric type weaknesses, as you see, because Starmie and Manaphy are both water types, and electric is super effective on those. So the type that resists electric is ground. So what I want now is I want a ground type that can take those electric type hits and not take too much damage. And also, I'm looking at this point because I only have 2 slots left on my team for something that's going to be using a choice item. Now, as you guys saw in the explanation about the choice scarf, choice items are really good, but it comes at a cost, because choice items, they will make your attacks more powerful, they'll make your speed faster, but you're only going to be able to use one attack. So, just like I said, once again, you'll only learn this by playing a lot, learning what the different Pokemon do. But the best Pokemon for me right now is Landorus Therian. Because it has this move called, and you guys will understand why when you start learning how to play more and you start playing more. But Landorus Therian is the best Pokemon on our team because it's a ground type, it's a flying type if you don't have any flying types either, and it gets this move called U-turn. So what all U-turn does is after I do damage to the target, I'm gonna switch out, and I'm gonna put it, and it can also be used as a scarf user. So let's see, this is gonna probably say max speed, max attack. Yep, max speed, max attack. So now, last but not least, we're looking for one more Pokemon. Now, at this point, we're trying to see if there's any Pokemon that will really kind of work really well with our team and be able to do some good stuff, as well as looking to see if there's any Pokemon that really hurt our team or any types that really hurt our team. Now, I'm looking at the team, and what I notice, it's not horrible because you only have one thing that's super effective on, but Dark does do stuff to our team because it's super effective on Starmie and neutral on everything else. So now we're going to look for something that resists Dark. So we're going to go / weakness Dark. Is that going to be offensive? No, it's not going to be offensive. But yeah, so Dark resists Dark, Fighting resists Dark, and Fairy resists Dark. So we're looking for one of those 3 types. And give me a second just to think. Let's see, Dark, Fighting, or Fairy. Which one do we want? Dark, Fighting, or Fairy. I'm just gonna scroll down until I find something. Tyranitar could we go? That makes her ground defense. I think Weavile can't take a hit. I think we're gonna want a fighting type Pokemon at this point. That's probably the way to go. I just don't know which one yet. Maybe Conkeldurr. Again, you'll learn what these Pokemon are, which ones to use when, as you start playing more. But I think that we're gonna probably go with Conkeldurr. Trying to see if there's anything I'm forgetting that's better. Yeah, I could also go with one of these three. Let's see, Conkeldurr I think is the way to go. And we're gonna give it this item called an Assault Vest, which raises its special defense, as you guys saw earlier. And we're gonna give it some moves that I know that it can use and is good with using them, because I know from just playing. You guys will learn from just playing. It's as simple as that. Let's go with this. Okay, so now that we have our team, second part of learning is make teams and then go and practice and play. So I'm gonna do a battle here, and hopefully they don't forfeit, so we can show our team off. So yeah, you see we found a battle. And I'm gonna basically kind of try to explain what I'm doing as the battle is going on, because that's probably the best way for you guys to kind of understand how a battle is and how it should be. So right now, I am probably gonna lead with our Manaphy, because I am expecting him to lead with Landorus, and Manaphy does very good. Oh, he led with Weavile, that's fine too. Weavile doesn't do much to Manaphy either, but we are going to, he's gonna go with Fake Out here, so we're gonna go into Landorus, because he has this ability called Intimidate, which lowers attack. Again, you'll learn from playing. Oh, he went for Knockoff, that's interesting. That is not what I expect him to do, guys. That is not what normal people would do, but I mean, he's probably Choice Banded. So, yeah, he's Choice Banded. So we're just going to U-turn out here, because we are not staying in on that thing. Let's see, he is Bulky Landorus, which means that we can go into our Starmie here. The Starmie does some good stuff to his team. So here we're going to go for a Scald. He'll probably predict an Ice Beam and maybe go into Keldeo or Scizor. If he goes into Scizor, that's great, because we are not going for Ice Beam because we don't have it on Starmie, because we have it on Manaphy. And if he goes into Keldeo, that's fine, because we have Psychic on Starmie too. So we're just going to go for the Scald here. The Scald is super effective on Landorus, and it will kill if it hits. So that's definitely the way to go here. And usually you don't want to switch in a Starmie on a Landorus, because you never know if Landorus is going to be Choice Scarfed or not. And if it was Choice Scarfed, it would kill us. But since we know it's not, because we took that damage from the Rocky Helmet, now we can switch into Starmie, and we can be okay with that because we know that he's not. So let's see, I'm going to start a timer because we don't have all day. And we went for Scald, which is definitely the way to go with this. And I don't know what he's going to do at this point, honestly. And we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, he stayed in, so that's good. We killed his Landorus. I don't like Landorus because of the fact that he can just switch in and lower anything's attack. Let's see, he went to Weavile, which is definitely going to go Knockoff again. And at this point, against this guy's team, Landorus doesn't really do much. So we're going to switch into Landorus. Oh, he went for Pursuit. That's not good. That stops you from switching out. And that was a good plan on his part. But once again, he's probably Choice Banded, which means that that's the only move that he can use. So we are going to go into Conkeldurr, and we are going to knock off here. Actually, no, we're going to... Ooh, what's he going to switch into? Now, this is where predicting comes in, and you only learn how to do this by playing. I am expecting him to switch into Clefable, or into Latios. So we're going to go for knockoff. Okay, he went to Latios, so that's good that he went for knockoff. And we killed that, because like I said, predicting is great, because if you predict right, then you really do well. So we predicted that, and we went for the knockoff. Now he goes into Clefable, which is completely fine. We're going to use Poison Jab, because Poison Jab is super effective, because Poison is super effective on him, and he just gave us a boost to our attack. So that's great. The fact that he went for the Thunder Wave, Conkeldurr has this ability called Guts, where when he is status, which means like paralyzed, burned, poison, anything like that, his attack goes up. So right now, our Conqueror has very high attack. So that's really good, and that means that Conqueror is actually going to be able to kill this Clefable. I'm just going to Poison Jab again. He might switch, that's fine. Clefable's almost dead. Yeah, he switched, that's completely fine. And we will paralyze. No, he's Mega. I should not have went for knockoff. That was a mistake on my part. But that's fine. We have stuff that can beat it. So we're going to go for Drain Punch here. Yeah, he went for Swords Dance again. That's annoying. He might go again for Swords Dance. Yeah, he went for Swords Dance again. And we got paralyzed again. That's not good. We're going to Mach Punch here because that's the only way we're going to get a hit off. And he may have just won because of the fact that he got that off. But we will see. We're going to go into Heatran. And we are going to Lava Plume here. Yes, we killed him. That's good. So Heatran, basically what Heatran's great because Heatran completely counters Scizor unless it has superpower, which it probably did. But it doesn't really matter at this point because our Heatran outspeeds his Scizor, so we were going to attack first. And now I am going to expect him to either go for knockoff or low kick. So once again, we're going to go into Landorus and lower his attack and see what he does. Yeah, he went for low kick, just like I expected. And now we are going to go for Earthquake. Yeah, he went for low kick again. That's fine. And like I said, only going to come from experience, but at this point I've noticed, based on the moves that he's choosing and what he's doing, that he is choice banded, which means that he can only use the first move he chooses, which means that he is not going to be able to touch our Venusaur. So we are going to go Giga Drain here. He's going to switch. Oh wow, he stayed in. That's a surprise. I didn't expect him to stay in. That was a dumb move on his part, to be honest, because we're going to kill him. We're just going to keep Giga Draining. He went to Clefable, that's fine. Clefable's going to die. And we should win this game at this point, because I don't see any way that he can beat us, to be honest. He's probably going to go for like Icicle Crash or something here. We'll see what he scarfs himself into by protecting. Oh, he'll go for low kick again. Interesting. Oh yeah, he forfeited. So yeah, we won that game. We predicted some good stuff. We made some good moves. And in the end, we ended up on top, which is great. And like I said, only way to really learn is to practice. Practice a lot. Go on to Showdown. Make an account. Battle after battle after battle. That's the only way to really do it. And I hope that this was informative, guys, and it wasn't too complicated. If there is anything you guys need or have any questions to ask about this and you guys want to go into more detail, you want help building, anything like that, just let me know. I will link my Twitter in the description, so you guys can message me on Twitter. My Skype name is LevineMa if you want to add me on Skype. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I hope that was informative and that helps you guys out, and that we can get some more people on here and we can get some more people playing competitive Pokemon, because it's really fun. And when you get more involved in it, you get into these pretty much fantasy football Pokemon leagues, which are really fun. And yeah, that's really fun. So once again, I hope that was informative. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and peace out, YouTube.